Hi, it's Gene from maverickstar Observatory. You've probably been wondering where I've been for the last 5 days, and I can say it's not been in jail. Okay, so what I've been up to, I've been working on a couple of other projects as well as the ones that we've got ongoing. We've got all the Brazil package ready to go. We're just waiting for the go ahead to send it out, and that'll be going. We've also, if you go onto the website, processed the data from one of our superstars, Scott, in Tucson, Arizona. Yeah, you can have a look at the data on there, but I will be talking about that in tomorrow's video. I just wanted to tell you guys what I've been up to, which is pretty much getting up very early hours and going to sleep very early hours, building 2 unique devices, which is in the line of PPE, personal protection equipment for these people and ourselves as well. It's not just for those. I'll tell you what inspired it. If you remember in the last video, I was talking about Richard Branson asking for bailout money for the airlines because people aren't travelling because of the lockdown, and planes are grounded. And as a result of that, you can imagine that the aviation industry has suffered catastrophic losses, which has forced some of them into liquidation. It is a shame, guys, when I have a real passion for the aviation industry, I've got to say that, I do, but at the same time, if you don't pay your taxes for 14 years, I don't think you should be asking for any government bailouts. But I do feel that you should use your initiative as an airline, and you should be talking to the Civil Aviation Authority as to how you can proceed with your business, keep it running, and at the same time keep passengers safe. Now, we heard from one gentleman who owns Ryanair, said clearly, and you can understand his frustration, how can we achieve social distancing in an aluminium tube? It basically is talking about the fuselage of the aircraft. How can we do that? It's pretty much impossible if you if you want to allow one person on one side of the aircraft, another on the other side of the aircraft, and then 2 seats later, another person, then another person. You're just not going to earn no money. You're probably not even going to recover the fuel costs involved in that. So there needs to be, a little bit of common sense, logic thinking, and immediately what we need to do is make sure that the safety of passengers that are flying on these aircraft are first and foremost. So I was looking into a couple of possibilities with aircraft, and the first one I thought was, well, what happens when an aircraft loses cabin pressure? It decompressurizes. If you're at 18,000 feet, you've got half, I believe, the available oxygen to you. If you're at 30,000 feet, you've got only 1/4 of the available oxygen to you, and without oxygen you pass out. So I started to think about the situation where we could probably have a positive fed air mask on an aircraft and keep passengers safe at the same time. So if there's a positive airflow over the face, that means none of the ambient pressure or atmospheric gases are coming into the mask or visor. And that's where I started to think, okay, what needs to be done is possibly using the emergency system to supply oxygen. Then I realised that the oxygen system in aircrafts is actually a chemical reaction. That's why when these masks fall from the overhead cabins, you have to pull them to release the pin, which triggers an ignition of the burning chemical in a can, and that produces oxygen for you to breathe. That's how they work. So above all the cabins, there's actually more oxygen masks than there is passengers all passenger seats on the aircraft. I think that's part of the regulation. But I didn't know that at first when I started to look into this. I thought it was fed by a main line, and all you'd need to do is to keep people in clean breathing air would be, cut that pipe, attach, a filtration system where we run clean air back through the aircraft, and then everyone, can sit there, enjoying air that nobody else has had contact with because it's been scrubbed through a filter and scrubbed out even COVID-19 as well as other viruses and bacteria. But that's not how it worked, as I found out. Some of the older aircraft, the ones that flew over the Himalayas, were made to carry oxygen bottles, lots of oxygen bottles, because the problem is if you're flying over the Himalaya mountains and you lose cabin pressure, you can't land or you can't go down to a safe enough altitude where normal air will be breathable even at that point. So they was told to put these oxygen bottles on there. So some of the aircraft have a similar system that we could manipulate very easily, but some of them, or the majority of them, don't. And the problem is then, how do we keep people from getting contaminated in, this aluminium tube? It's something that needs to be addressed in order for us to get back to, a simple way of life. I think if you can address that problem, then you can also address problems like, we are seeing also at the same side meat packers that work next to each other. I mean, what we're seeing a lot of is perspex being erected everywhere. If you go into the shop in the UK right now, there's perspex all around, the cashier, to protect the cashier in that environment. And I think it's a good thing. I think that's where we need to be going with all these things right now. So yeah, we've got a couple of products that we're prototyping at the moment, spending a lot of time doing that. The only way we can afford to do that is having, like we have done, people support us at the Observatory, and in turn, not only to build stuff for the Observatory with the 3D printer, we're able to utilise that equipment for other purposes, like what we're prototyping now. I'll say this, what we're building will be, again, like we always do, we always try to make it the best of the available technology. So it'll be cutting edge technology, it'll be prototyping equipment that people can use if it can be manufactured in a short space of time. And it will provide, some great protection for them. I've got to be careful what I say here. I don't want to give too much away, but I definitely am going to share these prototypes with you guys. You're going to be the first to see them, and we'll just see where it goes. But I will say this, it doesn't make no difference how good your product is, unless you can bring it to market, it's useless. So, if we can bring it to market and it does do well, then we can raise money for our observatory, and we don't have to ask so many people to support us. We will still provide the data that we do freely. So we've took a little bit of a humanitarian effort on board here at the observatory over the last 5 days. Been working, timelessly on this 2 products, which should provide, life-saving and protection for a lot of people. That's what we're doing. It's not easy, I will say that, because it's always down to one person here. You may have seen some of these films, these comedy films, where the one guy, the same guy actually, is the guy when you come into the hotel and you check in, and he's the check-in guy at the the desk, and next minute he runs round the back and changes into the the lift operator's uniform and takes you up to your lift and then takes you into your room, and then you might even see him a bit later on in the hotel wearing the chef's uniform. So it's a bit like that, that's how I feel. But I would love to be able to be in a position one day at this observatory to have a few more people by my side who I can delegate some of this work for, so I don't have to keep losing hair every time I need to, learn a new trade like CAD designing and, learning how to use 3D printers properly. All this requires a hell of a lot of time. So some mornings I'm getting up at 4 o'clock. I just wake up sometimes. I don't know if it's to do with the age or what. I wake up at 4 o'clock. So I have coffee and that's me done. I'm awake. So I put it to good use, and then, I'll just give you for example, up at 6 this morning, not 4, unusually, and then a bit of breakfast, and then it was out for a 10-kilometre walk with my wife, and then we come back. But before I went out for the walk, we'd already done some CAD design for the prototypes that we were building, and we set the printer up running for that, and it's still doing it. It said 13-hour job this was that we're printing off, so it's quite complex. I'll show you all in good time anyhow, but on top of that, I also processed the data from Arizona, got it up on the website. So just pushing and pushing and pushing as much as I can at the moment to maximise everything I can at the moment, given the situation that we're all facing. I'm not one to give up easy, and I don't like it when you hear airline companies that can't come up with solutions for themselves, as well as other government organisations. I mean, I'm one of these people that took it upon myself to email the Minister of Transport, because he's in charge of civil aviation in the UK, and propose this idea to him. I might not hear nothing at all from him back. That just might be the way it is. But this is just a demonstration really on how hard it is to bring things to market. And Elon Musk was asked the question, who did he prefer, Nikola Tesla or the other guy, I can't remember her name, who was in battle with over the electricity. One had alternating, one had direct current. And he said it was not Nikola Tesla, and the reason for that is because Nikola Tesla wasn't able to bring something to market. So for Elon Musk, being able to bring something to market is very important, and that is really critical. Of course, it's easy if you've got plenty of money, like Elon Musk, to bring things to market, because you've got the resources. But when you've got nothing, like we have here at the observatory, of them, a bit of knowledge, some equipment, it's a lot difficulter. But I believe in what we invest our time in here. What I invest my time with here is for the good cause and for the better of humanity. These prototypes are designed for everybody on this earth, and I do believe that they can save lives. And I just want to, at this moment, make them the best I can, and test that what we've built them for, it actually does. And if it does, we will put it out there as best we can. That's all you can do in this situation. But it is better than just sitting here talking about pointless things and not trying to improve the situation that we're in. And for that reason, that is what drives me to do the things I'm doing at the moment. So I just thought I'd say to you guys, I'm still here. We're still working hard with the observatory and all the data that comes in with that. We're still collecting data every 3 seconds, and on the magnetic intensity here in this region in the UK every 15 minutes. We also have equipment in Australia, the United States, Hong Kong, and here in the UK, and we're trying to put more equipment out there. If you're in Canada and you want a magnetometer, let me know. I've got a couple of them sitting there ready to be designated somewhere, so let me know. All you need to do is put a comment in the comment section there. I'll pick up on that. We'll link up perhaps on Skype and that, and we'll explain what's involved in that. It's very simple. These devices don't require a lot of electricity. It's just your time and your effort, you know, and your willingness to inform other people of what's taking place in your region of the Earth with regards to this magnetic pole reversal that we're in. So yeah, not much else to say, guys, other than a big thanks to those few people, as always, that stand with us. You know, we've lost nearly 20 patrons this year. I can't remember. I think we lost them after the beginning of January. No, not the beginning. The beginning of February. So from the beginning of February till now, we've lost 20 of our patrons, and the funding is slowly decreasing on the Patreon website, and that will inevitably shut us down here at the Observatory if it reaches, you know, critical levels. We just simply won't be able to keep going. So, you know, bear with us a little bit. And I will say this, you know, I will never return a favour to those that have looked after me if we do at some point get somewhere with all this. There will always be a list of people, even some of the people that, you know, have put some funding in and have said some pretty horrible things to me and against me. You know, they are nevertheless still on that list, you know, because they helped get us where we are today. And, you know, that's all I'll say, guys. There is no promises. You know, if we go somewhere with all this and we end up being, you know, a big brand name in the future, and, you know, there's probably 90% chance that we won't be, but, you know, you have to still, I believe, try for that. Otherwise, you know, if you don't have the enthusiasm to think you can, then you might as well not bother to start. I think that's similar to the British Special Air Service motto, isn't it? He who dares wins. If you can't dare to win, you're not going to even try to succeed in the first place. So, you know, yeah, going down off a tangent. Yeah, so big thanks to those people that have been sticking with us in these difficult times. And I will mention also, there is a link down there. Guys, if you're a patron, stay with us. If you're not a patron and you make off these one-off, you know, donations to us on PayPal, just keep doing it, because, like I said, there is a list of people and I'm not going to forget them. You know, if ever we can make something of this observatory and some of the products that we put out there, you know, these people will get, you know, looked after, and they will always be massively respected by the maverickstar Observatory. So I'm going to end it here. You know, you have a good evening. You know, look after your loved ones, and as always, I'll say what I usually do. Bye for now.